Begin the Gemara today on Daf Mem Gimel Amud Beis, where it says Tanya, 3 lines from the bottom of the page. So this is a continuation of the sugya that speaks about hefker. This came in over here in the Mishnah when there was discussion about the person that there was a neder not to have anah, and this person doesn't have what to eat, and you can't give him food directly. He may not have anah from you. So what do? You place the food down on a rock and you declare it hefker, and that person can come and take it. That's the Rabbanan's opinion. Rabbi Yossi says you can't do that. You can't, even if you declare it hefker, he cannot come and eat it from you. So we had in the Gemara 2 explanations for this. One explanation was Rabbi Yechanan's explanation, that Rabbi Yossi's shitta is that hefker is like a matana. Just like when I give you a gift, it doesn't become yours until you actually take it and acquire it. Until that point, it's still mine. So too by hefker, it doesn't leave my possession until somebody comes and acquires it and picks it up. So when this person is taking this food from the rock, he's really taking it from me. So therefore, you can't have anah from me. Okay? But whereas Rabbanan say, as soon as you declare something hefker, it immediately becomes hefker. So when he takes it, he's taking it from hefker. He's not taking it from you. That's the machlekes of Rabbi Yossi and the Rabbanan. There was a second pshat, the Gemara said, in the name of Rave, that there's a gzeira. According to Rabbi Yossi, it really does become hefker right away, but it's just a gzeira. But according to the Ran and most Rishonim, the continuation of this Gemara here will be based on Rabbi Yechanan's opinion in the explanation of the machlekes that I just explained. That's it. The Tanya, we learned in a braisa. Now this braisa is a braisa that's in the Tosefta of Maisris, and this braisa is a halacha regarding hefker, which has a relevance for Maisris. Hamafker sadeyu, a person that declares his field to be hefker. Kol shloisha yamim, so for the first 3 days, yochel achsabay. He can retract this hefker. And that means even if somebody comes and is actually zeicha in this field, you can still retract it. First 3 days, the hefker does not take effect. What's the reason for this? The Gemara is soon going to explain this. That the reason is because Chachamim decreed that the hefker should not take place unless you leave it hefker for 3 days, and because of harama. Harama means what happens if a person wants to avoid giving meiser. So it's a very simple thing. You don't give meiser for a field that you got from hefker. If it's a field that you own, or you got as a gift, or you bought, so then you have to give meisers. So if you want to avoid meisers, what do? The time when the meisers comes, declare it hefker, and then be zeicha in it a minute later, or a half hour later, whatever it is, and now you don't have to give meiser because you got it from hefker. So Chachamim said you can't do that. If you declare it hefker, so then you have to leave it to be hefker for 3 days. It's not hefker, and not only can you yourself not be zeicha in it again, but even if someone else is going to try to be zeicha in it, they can't be zeicha in it. Chachamim wanted it to be clear for everybody that you can't be zeicha in this property. It's not considered to be hefker b'chlal. And the truth is, it could even be more so. The Ran says it could even be that this person that declared it hefker never really meant to declare it hefker. It's a harama. He's just playing this game in order for him to avoid the meiser. So if it's not really hefker, nobody can be zeich in it. But after 3 days, then it's considered to be hefker. Mikam ve'elech, after 3 days, ein yochel lachsabay. So then you can't retract from this hefker. And what that means is that as soon as 3 days is up, even if nobody else was zeich in it yet, after 3 days, it automatically becomes hefker. That's what this brayta says in the beginning.
He's taking it back, and he's still chayv.
If after 3 days, he will be potter from the meiser because the hefker took effect. Right? Now the brayta continues and says, if Omar tehei sadazum ifkeres liyom echad, if he declared hefker with a certain time frame, he said it should be hefker for 1 day, or l'shabbos achas for 1 week, l'chodesh echad for 1 month, l'shana achas for 1 year, l'shavua achas for a period of 7 years. That's what it means, right? The period until Shemitah. So he's declaring hefker for a certain time frame. So over here, the halacha is achelei zachaba, before he himself went, or before someone went and was zeiche in this, beinu bein acher. Whether he went and reacquired it for himself, or whether someone else went and acquired it. So yachal achsabay, he can be chayzer from this. And over here, in this case, when it says yachal achsabay, it means he can be chayzer from this immediately. In this case, Chachamim did not make any gzeira that within 3 days you can't be zeich in it. Over here, you can immediately be zeich in it again, or over here, beinu beinacha yachal Again, what does it say here? Atchalei zachaba, before anyone was zayche in it, beinu, bein acher, if anyone was not zayche in it, yachal lachsabai. He could be chayzer. Right? What's the reason that he could be chayzer? Because the hefker did not take effect yet. Nobody was zayche in it. Okay, let's see the next part of what the Braisa says, then I'll explain. However, if somebody was already zayche in it, bein hu, bein acher, whether he himself was zayche in it, or whether someone else was zayche in it, en yachal lachsabai. So now you can't be chayzer from your hefker. Now the point I was going to say before is that over here that's even within 3 days. Even within 3 days, someone could be zayche in it, you could go ahead and be zayche in it. And over here, Chacham were not geyser that within 3 days you can't be zayche in it, because a person that is just trying to play a game and be mafkir it in order to avoid giving maisris, he's not going to make it a hefker for a certain time frame. There's no reason he should be doing that. Why would he make it hefker for a certain time frame? He just makes it hefker, and he could be immediately zayche in it right afterwards. He doesn't have to have any time frame. Hefker and he's zayche. Over here, the fact that this person is making it hefker for a certain time frame, that means that the hefker is serious, that he wants it to be hefker within that time frame, giving anybody the ability to be zayche in it in that time frame. Okay? There's a discussion in the Achrayim. What does this mean? You make something hefker for a certain time frame. It's an interesting kind of a thing. Manavshach, once you make it hefker, so it leaves your possession. So how could you make it hefker for a time frame? The way some Achrayim explain this is, it's sort of like a condition. The person is making it hefker on the condition that within this time frame somebody is going to come and be zayche in it. If within this time frame nobody is going to come and be zayche in it, it will not be hefker. Okay, but the point is, what does it say over here in the lashon of the Braisa, that within this time frame, when you make it hefker within a time frame, so then if someone was zayche in it, you cannot retract your hefker. If nobody was zayche in it, then you could retract your hefker. Says the Gemara, comes out, if so, that Reishe Rabbanon, the beginning of the Braisa, follows according to the opinion of the Rabbanon. And Sefer Rabbi Yosi, the Sefer goes according to Rabbi Yosi. So why is this? Very simple. If you look in the Reisha of the Braisa, what did it say? Mikan ve'elech, after 3 days, en yachal lachsabai. You can't be chayzer anymore, which means, now it doesn't say in the beginning of the Braisa, if somebody was zayche in it, then you can't retract. After 3 days, now the hefker takes effect automatically, even before anybody is zayche in it, and you can't retract. That's exactly what the Rabbanan said. When you declare something hefker, it becomes hefker right away. In the Sefer, it goes according to Rabbi Yosi. In the Sefer over here, it says that if someone else was zayche in it, then you can't retract. That's Rabbi Yosi's opinion, that by a hefker, it remains yours until someone else is zayche in this. So we see that the Reisha is the Rabbanan, and the Sefer is Rabbi Yosi. Right? Okay, that's the shaila here on this Braisa. There's many more details over here that the Ran and the Rishonim point out regarding the details of the Braisa, but let's go right in the Gemara. So the Gemara says, Amar Ule, there's 2 answers the Gemara gives here, from Ule and Reish Lakish. So Ule says, Seife Nami Rabbanan Hi. The Seife of this Braisa is also the Rabbanan. Now, Ihachi, if the Seife is the Rabbanan, so the question is, Amai Atchalei Zachaba Bein Hu Bein Achi Yachal Lachsabai. So why, until someone else is zayche in this hefker, can you retract from your hefker? Doesn't that seem like what Rabbi Yosi said, that it's not hefker until someone else is zayche in it? So the Gemara explains, in this case, Rabbanan will agree. Because this is a hefker that you created with a certain time frame, Rabbanan will agree. Shani, Shana, Shavua, in this case where you declared it to be hefker either just for a year, or for 7 years, or whatever time frame it is, the loy shchichi, this is not hefker in a normal way. This is a very uncommon way of hefker. So in such a case, Rabbanan will agree that it does not become hefker until someone else is zayche in it. And the pshat that the Ran, the Rishonim over here say is that usually Chachamim say when you declare something hefker, you mean that it should be hefker immediately, even before someone else is zayche in it. But when you declare something hefker and you're giving it a time frame, that shows that you're not really so sure with this hefker. Why are you giving it a certain time frame? Because you say, like I mentioned before, Achrayim say that this means you're sort of making it hefker on a condition that someone will come and be zayche in it within this time. So that means that you don't want it to be hefker until someone is zayche in it. So in this case, the Chachamim will agree that it won't be hefker until someone is zayche in it. So over here, Chachamim will agree to Rabbi Yosi. Reish Lakish gives a different answer. Midiseifer Rabbi Yosi, no, that really this entire Braisa is all Rabbi Yosi. Midiseifer Rabbi Yosi, since the Seif is Rabbi Yosi, since in the Seif it says that it doesn't become hefker until someone is zayche in it, Reisha Nami Rabbi Yosi. The beginning of the Braisa, where it says that it becomes hefker right away after 3 days, even before someone is zeichen. That's also Rabbi Yossi. But Reisha, Hainu Taima, the reason why in the Reisha it says that it becomes hefker right away, the loy lishtakach teiris hefker. That's all only midrabanan. Midrabanan, they didn't want people should forget about the concept of hefker. What this means is, if you're going to say regarding a regular hefker that it does not become hefker until somebody is actually zeiche in it, so then in people's eyes it will seem like that this hefker is not a hefker. It will seem like it's a gift. Just like by a gift, you can retract it until it enters into the person that's receiving it, into his possession. So to by hefker, it works the same way. You can have charata until he gets it. So it's going to seem to people like this is a matana. What's going to happen if it's going to seem to people like it's a matana? This will be a problem for maestris. So the person that's being zeichem and a hefker will think that it's really a gift, and if it's a gift, it's chayiv and maestris, and really it's pater and maestris. And you may take maises from this for something else that's chayiv and maises, you're going to make a mistake. So Chachamim wanted that it should be clear that this is really hefker, and when the person is zeiche, is being zeiche from hefker, so therefore there were geyser that it should become hefker right away, even though minatayre it's really not hefker yet. But now here's the thing though, this gzeire is only in the reisha of this brisa, which is speaking about a regular hefker, where a person is declaring it hefker without any time frames. But when it comes to the sefer, where he's declaring it hefker with a time frame, which as the Gemara already said, is a very unusual thing, over here Chachamim were not geyser that it should become hefker right away. So therefore the opinion of Rabbi Yossi stays that it doesn't become hefker until you're going to be zeich in it. Fragt the Gemara, if Chachamim wanted to become hefker right away, so it should be clear to everybody that this is hefker. So if so, why isn't it hefker from the very first day, as soon as you declare it hefker? The truth is, this is really a question on the Braisa itself, even before you come to what the Gemara says now. This is a question. Why does it say over here in the Braisa, Kol shloisha yamim yachal achsabay, that whenever you declare something hefker within the first 3 days, you can retract that hefker? Why? What's the significance about these 3 days? But the Gemara is asking the question here now, specifically, now that we said that Chachamim specifically made a gzeira. They wanted to be clear to everybody that this is hefker, in order that it shouldn't be a mistake with a matana, so then it should become hefker right away from the beginning. So the Gemara answers, like I mentioned already before, Omar Rabbe mipnei haramoin. The reason Bechlal why they said that for the first 3 days it's not hefker is because of people that are ramoin, they're playing a game here. The mafkirin v'hadrin behind. In order to avoid giving meiser, they declare it hefker and they immediately retract it and are immediately zeiche in it from hefker. So it's just being done to avoid meiser. So therefore Chachamim said you have to be ready to declare it hefker for 3 days. And until then, there's no such a thing as hefker. If you're going to be declared hefker and you're going to be zeiche in it right away, the hefker never took effect and you'll still be chayiv and maestris. And nobody else could be zeiche in it either. As I mentioned before, Chachamim wanted it to be clear that this is not hefker at all. Okay, but now the Gemara comes back again to this pshat over here of Reish Lakish and asks a question in the reverse. What are we saying? What's the pshat over here in this braisa? That really when you mafkir it, until somebody comes and is zeiche in it, menatayr it's not hefker, you can still be chayzer. The reason why the reisha of this braisa says that it becomes hefker right away, it's all just midrabanan. They didn't want people to forget about this idea that this could become hefker. And when someone is zeiche in it, he is being zeiche in a hefker. So, but minat Torah, it's really not hefker, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. But if so, we should have a reverse problem than we said before. V'dilme, if so, possibly what could happen is asili isuri min achiv al aptur. You may come to give meiser from something that's obligated in meiser min atayre on something which is exempt from meiser min atayre, or a min aptur al achiv, or you may come to give meiser from something which is potter from meiser min atayre on something which is obligated in meiser min atayre. Over here, what you're saying is that this property that he declared hefker really min atayre, it's not hefker. Because it's no one was zeich in it. According to Rabbi Yossi, there's no hefker here. Elamech Chachamim were geyser that it should be considered hefker even before someone is zeich in it. But really, it's not hefker. So what's going to happen? People might think that this is hefker minat Torah, and therefore they're going to treat it as something that is potter from the Maisa, and really it is chayiv in Maisa. So you're going to end up only midrabanan. You're going to say that midrabanan again minat Torah it's potter from Maisa, and it's really only chayiv in Maisa midrabanan, and you're going to think that it's chayiv and meiser and atayra, and you might use this produce to separate meiser for something else, which is chayiv and meiser and atayra. So you're going to come and give meisers the way you're not supposed to. Says the Gemara, the amrinan lei another takana that they made over here regarding a situation when a person is mafke something and yizeicha from something mina hefker. So in this case, midrabanan, we say that this is considered to be hefker, but minatayre it's not hefker. So we tell him you have to give maisris, but ki maisris asim minayubei. When you give the maiser, this property that you was zeicha mina hefker, you can't give maisris from this on any other produce from any other property. You have to make sure to give maisris from this only for this produce itself. So you're not going to come to give maisris on something else, which is then going to be a maisris from something which is chayiv to something which is potter. Okay, so that's the conclusion of the pshat in this braisa, that the whole entire braisa could go either according to the Rabbanan or according to Rabbi Yossi. Now the Gemara brings another braisa, which seems to be a contradiction to what it says in this braisa. The question was asked, it says in the braisa, Hamafker es karmai, a person that declares his vineyard to be hefker. Uleshachar, the next morning, Omad, he wakes up in the morning, ubatzrai, and he goes and he cuts the grapes for himself. In other words, in the evening, he declares it hefker, and nobody knows about this, and then he comes the next morning, and he's zeichen it for himself. So this is exactly the case that we were speaking about before, that a person is playing this game in order that he should be potter from the maisris or from all the other things that you're obligated to give from your property. So the halacha is chayiv beperet ubeoilelis ubeshikcha ubepeye. So the halachas of peret and oilelis, which are various different grapes that are not growing in the normal way, they grow in unusual manner, so you have to give them for poor people. Shikha, those that you forgot, and peya, you have to give a certain section of it to the poor people. All of those chiyuvim apply even if you declared it hefker and you were zeicha in it again. So this is actually a separate halacha that's learned from a pasuk, as the Ram brings the double lashon that it says in the pasuk oziv taziv, that you have to leave it for the poor people, even something that you were zeicha in a hefker. So there are also it's also going to be chayiv in all of these various different things that it says here that belong to the poor people. But upatim and a meiser. But it will be pater from meiser. Okay, so right here you have a contradiction to what it said in the previous braisa. Before we said that for 3 days the hefker does not take effect because Chachamim didn't want a person to play such a game, to declare it hefker the night before and then the next morning and go and take it for himself to be exempt from meisers. And here it says that it is pater from the meiser. So what's the pshat over here? So how are we going to answer this contradiction? So the Gemara says, Bish loy malu, according to the pshat that Ole said in the previous braise, that he said before that the entire previous braise goes all according to the opinion of the Rabbanan. What's the opinion of the Rabbanan? As soon as you declare something hefker, the hefker takes effect right away. So if we're going to say that we're following the Rabbanan's opinion, so I'll answer you the contradiction of these two braises. The Rabbanan ketanila, the previous braisa that says that within the first 3 days the hefker does not take effect, that's all exerim of the Rabbanan because they don't want a person to play such a game. So therefore they say that the hefker does not take effect. And then you have this braisa here that says that the next morning you're going to be pater from meiseres. This braisa is telling you the halacha minatayra, that minatayra the hefker did take effect, and therefore you pater from meiseres minatayra. So it's not a contradiction. So we could explain this. But according to Rish Lakish says we're following here the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Right? Rabbi Yossi says when you declare something hefker, not only midrabanan does it not become hefker within the first 3 days, but even minatayra it does not become hefker until somebody else is zeiche in it. So there's no hefker here, not midrabanan and not minatayra. So according to Rish Lakish, Amai potem and amaiser. How could it say over here in this braisa, a person that declared his vineyard to be hefker and then the next morning he was zeiche in it, so then it's going to be potter from the meiser. Why is it potter from the meiser? According to Rabbi Yossi, this hefker did not take effect at all because no one else was zeiche in it. So what's the pshat in this? How are we going to answer the contradiction of these two braises? And how are we going to really the question is how are we going to explain the pshat in the second braise where it says that it does become hefker even without anybody else being zeiche in it? Rabbi Yossi will that's Rish Lakish here. Rish Lakish will answer you. Ki amri ana le Rabbi Yossi. When I said that according to Rabbi Yossi that it does not become hefker until someone is zeichen in it. Yeah, that is according to Rabbi Yossi, but that's all going on the previous braisa. The previous braisa, we can say that the reisha and the seifa is all Rabbi Yossi, as Rish Lakish already explained before. And in the reisha, there's a gzeira that after 3 days it becomes hefker even before you zeichen it, as Rish Lakish explained, because Chachamim don't want you to forget Teiras hefker. So the previous braisa is all Rabbi Yossi, but Rabbanani. This brisa goes according to the opinion of the Rabbanon that minat Torah, when you declare it hefker the night before, it immediately becomes hefker, and therefore the next morning minat Torah will be potter from Meiser. And true, according to the Rabbanon, mid Rabbanon, they were geyser that it should not become hefker because people could play this game. Okay, so therefore, Reish Lakish will agree that the second brisa we quoted over here is going according to the opinion of the Rabbanon, that it becomes hefker right away.